show you why you think like that. Find me in the great Cadillac. We in the bed light. I'm not gonna tell you what they're in the bed like,
I
because
know.
if you don't already know, then you're too young.
Exactly. Why are
Mhm.
you up so late?
Go back to bed. You got double chores tomorrow. I'm just letting you know.
Exactly. You're already grounded.
Yeah, you were grounded before you said a word on this podcast.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's good to see y'all. Welcome to the stream, another late night edition. We're still
Mm-hmm.
calling it Thursday because
Mm-hmm.
that's what we want to do.
It's not Thursday until you go to sleep.
That's
Or
how.
sorry, it's not Friday until you go to sleep.
Right. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just science, dude. I don't know why
Exactly.
people argue that. That's literally just science. So we're
Exactly.
glad that you're here. We got a really great topic that we want to discuss with you. And I hope y'all are down to kick it with us. And look, even if you're watching the rewatch, man,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just leave us a comment. Leave us what your thoughts are when we get done talking about this. We'd
Mm-hmm.
love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, just thanks for joining us on such a late night. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Thank you for being here.
yeah,
Love to
exactly.
see it.
I don't know why I had to say that, you know what I'm saying? But I did. Um, so anyway, thanks for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see here. What are we talking about today, man? What are we talking about? But
What
first,
are we talking about?
well, let me hit that record button. Y'all gotta wait for 3 more seconds.
Mm-hmm. Gotta make sure.
All right. So we're talking this week about the struggles of AI, right? We're back on our
Mm-hmm.
AI train, the thing that has defined this season of the Catch Up podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the old AI issues, really, because one of them, they're both big issues. One of them seems to be more immediate than the other. First of all, Chat GPT and other big AI like it, right? They
Mm-hmm.
draw a lot of power because they have multiple computers um, or processing that provide processing horsepower for this AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big drain on power, big drain on resources. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the New York Times possibly. I want to report accurately since we're talking about journalistic media.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly is gearing up to sue AI, specifically OpenAI. Sorry, and ChatGPT at that would be, you know, potentially what they're saying is we'll come back to this further. I'm not explaining this well at all right now, but we'll come back to this further. What potentially could happen is this lawsuit, if it happens, could go to a federal judge that apparently, if it favors the New York Times, ChatGPT would have to scrub all of its knowledge and start over, man,
Mm.
which is crazy.
It is. It
And
is.
so it's definitely a good talking point, and we want to discuss that. Also, a side note: the New York Times actually changed its terms of service that prevents any AI from, scrubbing or not scrubbing, but gathering information from that site. Um, I don't really know quite how you prevent that. I guess it'd have to be in the API, right? Because
It would be. It wouldn't be in the APIs. It would be similar to kind of like what has happened with um the social media platform formerly known as Twitter.
right,
Um
now known as X.
exactly. Where they changed the API ruling. I think Reddit also did something similar, where they changed how their API is used. Um, so yeah, I believe you can do it in the API, and so that way the AI is not able to easily go in there and grab specific data points and stuff.
Right. And what does API stand for?
You know, I don't know. We're gonna have to Google that one. I actually don't know that one.
Let's find out.
Let's pull it up, man.
I see it all the time. I see it all the time because I work with these social media platforms a lot. And I've always wondered, and
Hmm.
you see it all the time because
Oh yeah, I do.
multiple reasons. Yeah, application program interface,
Programming
programming
interface.
interface. You're right.
Hmm.
Seems a little redundant. Uh,
Hmm.
not really. It's good. So yeah, that is going to be interesting because I do know. So ChatGPT has been without internet surfing abilities for over a month now. They seemingly have not been able to get the issue that they've had fixed, and so they've been without internet abilities for, like I said, over a month.
Or at least that plug-in. It's
Right.
that plug-in.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't search anything that's current on ChatGPT right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Yes. Um, but one thing I asked, I think I wanted to look at something I'd posted before, right? Because I was
Hmm.
posting something for my music. And so I wanted to look at something I posted before and it said, sorry, but Facebook's API, which is also the same as Instagram's, prevents me from searching for this stuff. And I was like, dang, you know.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the reason for that. So yeah, that's interesting, man. We got a lot to talk about.
We sure do, man.
So I just say we go ahead and get into it. I didn't say slap.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't say slap, man.
I didn't say smack.
You went back to the old phrase. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, guys. We have a shirt that says that. Quick plug.
We
I'm not
sure
wearing
do.
it right now. Neither of us are wearing it right now.
Yeah, no, we aren't. We aren't.
It looks dang
Sadly.
good though.
But it is a good shirt, man. It's a great
It
shirt.
looks real good. You know what? I'm gonna get something ready because we gotta plug this stuff anyway, my
We
bro.
do, man. Always. Always.
Yep. So, all right, let's go ahead and run the intro.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Dennison.
and this is the catch up. You know, that's not how our intro music goes at all. But
No, no, it's kind of far off of what our
yeah,
intro music goes to.
but it was just the other day that I was thinking to myself, you know what? I think it's about time we update the music, man.
You know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. It's
Been
it's overdue.
I've been using the same exact intro since 2019, man.
Mm-hmm.
Been cutting since 2019. So I think it's about that time,
It is about that time. It's
Um,
still pretty dope though that we've been using the same thing for that long, man.
I know it's done as well. Well, found that file. I don't think people are going to be interested in buying that one. I'm going to keep looking for it, actually. Oh, wait. No worries. I have it right here. I just want to get this. Oh, God, this is going to look awful. Well, that's all right.
You'll be all right.
We'll be all right. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, before we get back into our main topic, I just want to discuss the 3 best ways. And let me say, when I say discuss, right, I just want you to sit down on the couch, talk with me for a second. I'm just trying to connect with you, man.
Exactly.
You and I have been going our separate ways for so long. I try to sit down, have a conversation. You want to go play video games.
Exactly.
So, listener, whoever you are, this was not directed at Dennis in case you're confused. The listener, I just want to have a conversation with you, man. I want to let
Mhm.
you know the 3 best ways to support this show. You know, there they are, flying across your screen. Number 1. Oh man, it's always the build up. An encased RSX Type R. Nice, dude. It's pretty slick. Been really cool if it was red, for historical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is please leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. It really helps us to grow, helps us to know what we can do to do better or what we're already doing well. But it
Mm-hmm.
also gets us out in front of more people too. So it's a big help. Please just take a few seconds to leave 5 stars or whatever you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I feel like I preach this week after week, but I'm really serious. It would help us a lot, so please just take a few seconds to help us out. Number two is give us a follow. Oh my gosh. Oh, I spoke too soon. There's a red model right there. Dang, that was crazy. I should have held my tongue.
Mm.
Uh, Number two is follow us on Facebook or on YouTube at our podcast name. And we go live every Thursday night talking about our topics in real time. If you don't already watch us this way, it allows you to jump in the discussion with us in real time and leave your comments. And we want to have a discussion with all of you. And you're getting the format, the recorded version like that in real time. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more, as cool as that is, we want to be able to have a really great conversation with you and expand this discussion as a whole. And number three, oh, oh man, you really pulled that PS5 controller out of the bag. All right, there's your three right there. Oh wait, it's an Xbox controller. I was duped. I was bamboozled. All right, we're gonna show you a little something, something you might say.
Mm-hmm.
This is not on a
Show and
shirt.
tell.
Yeah, this is not on a shirt, right? But just
Mm.
picture it. Let's go ahead and get into it with a nice big pair of headphones. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That is
Looks
something
clean.
looks real clean, right? So that's something that you could have wrapped around your body, you know, not to make
Round
it
your noggin, man.
not to make it sound weird or anything, but um I think actually I can give you all a better example. Give me 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You store perfect.
One,
Pulling
two.
it. Dang. I wasn't ready. I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. Time out, man.
Yeah, I know. Time
Time's up.
flies when you're trying to show off your merch.
You are, man. I mean, you're right. You're right. Time does fly. But it is what it is. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're out
So
here trying to show the people, show and tell. Just like, when when you were younger, and you went to class and you always brought your favorite toy, right? And you
right.
got to bring it up to the front of the class and show them your favorite toy, right? We are just trying to
We still
show
should
our
go.
favorite clothing that we
Yeah.
have, our favorite merch, to our audience, so you guys can check it out. And, if you feel so inclined, go ahead and snag, a couple of things. Yeah.
I just want to say too, I feel so disappointed in myself because this is not on our shop page and it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. No, we don't want black. Uh you can't see the design.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
So
But it does look
yeah,
clean though.
it does. We'll leave it at that. It looks clean. Um because I for some reason can't. Oh, there we go. Let's show it to the people.
Show it to the people.
All right, guys. Sorry for the long wait on this. I forgot how to use the website that we do this on. Little gray action, right? Just a standard gray. I know a lot of people like gray around here. Good
Yo,
hardworking folk.
are you sharing?
There it
There we
is.
go. There we go. I can
Look
see
how
it now.
clean
Look at
that
that.
is. Man.
That is pretty darn clean. I like
That's
it.
actually me modeling it.
Man, you grew out your beard a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, me not being able to is just a part of my character, dude. I actually
Mm,
have a full beard.
I see. I see.
Yeah, it's kind of
Full
crazy.
black beard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I tint it. I tint
Uh-huh.
it. But
You had to dye your hair as well.
no, it's. I'll kind of leave it.
Okay.
It's all about the lighting.
Okay. Okay. That's
Oh,
some interesting lighting.
hey, but you didn't ask about the gains though. Let's go. Yeah, so good clean shirt. I'll get this added to our shop for y'all. I think you'll like this one. This is the guaranteed favorite for sure, without a doubt. So
Mm-hmm.
please check that out. That's over at our shop. By the time you hear this, it'll be at our shop in the link below. So
Yep.
please check that out. I know you'll like it. All right, let's get into this topic here. This here topic. Why don't you start us off, man? Talking about uh that the AI and the power that's required for it, right?
Yeah, of course. So, um, as you all may know, we have been going through a sweltering hot summer, and throughout all of that, I'm sure everyone's kind of heard of like, this is becoming a more a new normal, as it were, due to climate change, just because
Yeah.
of how many or how much CO2 that we're pumping into the atmosphere and all of the things that come with that. Um,
Right, which I actually have a question for you, right?
mhm.
Um Saturday. What's your high in
Let's see.
Texas?
High in Texas. Let's see what we got here. Give me a second here. On Saturday, our high is 104.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising to me. Ours on Saturday is 107.
Wow, that's
And on
crazy.
Sunday it's 107. And on
That is
Monday
really crazy.
and on Monday it's 105, Tuesday 103, Wednesday 101, Thursday 101. It
Man,
doesn't drop below 100 till a week from tomorrow.
that's crazy.
It's nuts, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean, well, we've been in the hundreds for a while, man. We are expected to get a little bit of a cold front here, though. Good old cold front. It's going to be 97 degrees, man.
dude, you got you.
Cold front. Gotta get the jacket out.
I'm about to say you got that North Face ready, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just wanted I was curious and brought that up because I'm feeling it. I'm very much feeling it, man. We've already had a couple of 107 days up here. We already had 10 days straight of 100 plus degrees, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. So yeah, all I was really gonna say is, since as everyone said, due to these changes in the amount of CO2 that we have in our atmosphere, as well as some of the changes that are is going on and how that is affecting and heating us up. A lot of um, pressure has been started to grow on finding cleaner energy sources and reducing the energy that we do consume and stuff like that. And all of that being said, um, goes towards what one of the topics that we're going to be talking about, which is uh, ChatGPT or even other AIs like ChatGPT using a huge amount of power. Because, you know, although we love to use these AIs, these chatbots, and use them for a wide variety of tasks and stuff like that, and it feels like magic, right? You're typing in there like, hey, what do I do, blah blah blah, and it's just boom, it gets you this whole clean answer, really well thought out and stuff like that. But what we're not really seeing or talking about much behind the scenes is that all of these AI models are having to be powered um, via data centers, right? Data centers with big server farms. So it's just tons and tons of very high powered computers and GPUs. Um, that are crunching this data and then pushing it out to us, the consumers, the users, right, of these products um, to essentially, get all of our magical experience. Um,
Sure.
but in these big, gigantic, massive data farms or server farms, data centers, they consume a lot of power, and the more users that you have means that there are more instances of this AI needing more computing power, which would also mean that it needs more servers, which also means more power.
Yeah.
Servers cost power, and if especially if you're already running them at the the highest amount that you can, they're consuming a huge more or a huge amount more power than they were before.
Mhm.
And depending on how our uh, movement towards cleaner energy sources, most of the time, these data centers, since they're using so much power and it's a 24/7 job, um, they're not getting their energy from a clean, um, much more sustainable energy source, right? They're going to be most likely getting them from coal plants, right?
Right.
Or natural gas or um, different types of fossil fuel, um, different types of fossil fuels, because those currently, at least since we haven't really gone through a huge process of trying to overhaul how our energy has been created or is being created, our electricity, most are still in that coal powered, natural gas powered, more pollutant, um, more fossil fuel intensive power generation.
Right. So it's creating more of a climate issue, right?
Correct, correct. Yeah, it's something that actually, when Bitcoin was really high, um,
Oh yeah. Oh,
it-
dude, we okay. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
no, no worries. I was just gonna say, yeah, like when Bitcoin was really big, Bitcoin mining became a really big deal, but um, it also became kind of a climate thing, because again, you're going to be the more people, more consumers, right? Because that's more people, and instead of these big server farms, now you're having like individuals consuming more powers to their home, which again can lead to more fossil fuels being burned, which means more CO2 being pumped into our atmosphere, or greenhouse gases. It doesn't even have to just be CO2. Sometimes it can be others, um, and overall creating a higher environmental impact than it once previously was. And it took a couple of laws and sanctions and stuff like that that happened against different not just like actual individuals like consumers, but other different stuff like that that was out there to try to lower the amount of people trying to do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that. Um, it's interesting. One thing I was thinking about, this is kind of like a different direction, I guess. But AI is kind of like the thing that can lead to so many new innovations because it's advancing like human thinking, right? Like the
Yep.
collaboration. And what's interesting about that, right, is one of those things you would think are new sources of energy, right? But
Hmm.
instead, it's causing such a gigantic problem for that. Um, yeah, I mean, how do you think this would compare to, say, like Google, right? Like Google's facility,
Hmm.
like, say ChatGPT, right?
Hmm.
What it takes to power that. How does that compare to? I mean, I don't know if you know this. I'm totally open for pure speculation on this, right?
Hmm.
But the amount of power in GPUs, CPUs, like you said, that it takes to power Chat GPT, for example, what about like Google's search engine? How would those two compare, right?
Um, that's a great question, and I'm gonna say that this is for sure more speculation on my end, but
Right.
I would say that um, it is using a pretty decent amount of energy, um, comparably, but I almost feel like ChatGPT would end up using more. Now, of course, over time, I think it would get a little bit less. But the reason why I'm saying this is that Google has had years and years of time to perfect the algorithm that is used for their Google searches, which has also most likely created a lot of performance gains as well.
Mhm.
So that a regular Google search or most people's Google search is going to use a fraction of the power that it used to use when they first implemented Google search and all sorts of other stuff like that.
Right,
Um,
right.
because, not only are you getting efficiency gains when it comes to just overall hardware, right? As hardware advances, it can do more tasks with using less power, good stuff like that. But then you also have the fact too of just a much more tighter, better um, algorithm, tighter, better, and more efficient algorithm
Mm.
to be able to product or conduct those searches without any issues, or with far less issues as well as far less power.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man.
That's all good,
Oh,
man.
there's some Daffy Duck going there for a
I
second.
did, man. I really did. Oh.
I'm sorry, that was just funny. Um, oh man. Okay, so well, I guess one of my thoughts would be um couldn't it help develop the hardware that would take less size and energy to power it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Kind of
mean,
like the snake eating its tail, but reversed, you know?
yeah. I mean, I do feel as though eventually we're going to get to that kind of process where it's the amount of good that it's actually putting out is far outweighs the amount of energy that it's using, right?
Mhm.
I can see it as akin to what we're scientists are currently trying to continuously replicate with fusion power, right?
Mm,
Nuclear fusion, where it's currently we can create a fusion reaction, but the amount of power that it takes for us to continue that reaction, not only create it but continue that reaction, um, outweighs the amount of energy that we are actually getting out of the equation. Only recently, right, we've had breakthroughs, and this has been decades and decades of us researching and you know getting closer to making more efficient things. But have we gotten to a point where at least relatively recently we've been able to create a nuclear reaction that a nuclear fusion reaction, I need to be very specific there,
mhm.
um, that is able to produce more energy than what it's required to be put into it. And so I think AI for sure is going to get to that point, right? But I think it's that tipping glass, right? It's figuring out what is the right, how long will it take? The cool part about it is AI is very quick, and especially generative AI that we have where it's learning consistently and growing, and the amount of data that we can continue to feed into it, the faster that it'll learn and faster that it'll grow. And so it's only a matter of time of being able to figure out ways to make it far more efficient in how it does its processes, as well as far more efficient in like other alternatives to make sure that it can produce, right, in some ways more um, energy than what it takes to maintain it or increase it.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thought I was having while you were talking too was, the possibility is one day these become the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Like AI is the main thing. There's not search engines, right?
Hmm.
Not
Well,
not in the status that they're in now,
correct, correct.
right?
Yeah, yeah. In the instance that we see it now, I think it'll be a very different landscape. Kind of some sort of an amalgamation of like a search engine and a chatbot and a other thing like that, right? It's kind of like what we first, at least what my first envision of like a Google Assistant would be, or a Siri would be,
Yeah,
for you iPhone users.
we're out of here.
But yeah, I feel like it would be something akin to that, where you're not going to any of these anymore. You're just like, hey, what is this? You know,
Yeah.
help me find whatever,
Right,
or do
exactly.
this task, or whatever like that.
So, of course, you always want to go more and more green, but I mean, would it be a problem if that's like the biggest power drawer that we have from a technology standpoint someday in the future? You know?
I mean, sure, I guess that wouldn't be the worst thing, but it is one of those things that we still need to be cognizant of. Um, as I mean, honestly, it if anything, this should be one of the biggest reasons why we should push more towards more green energy creation methods, greener energy creation methods, so that way we are not, that way we can have our cake and eat it too.
Mm.
You can use a huge amount of power, but you have these tons and tons of redundant green energies that are not polluting and are zero, carbon, um footprint wise or whatever like that, and not like zero carbon as in I'm buying carbon credits, because that is a thing,
Yeah.
but zero carbon as in I am literally not producing any greenhouse gases to go up into our atmosphere. So I think it does have that possibility of really pushing us towards that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's interesting. That's really cool.
Hmm.
Um, well, no, that's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Sorry,
mean, well, go ahead.
no, I was
Sorry.
just thinking of something silly. But no, what were you gonna say? Because I was about to move on to the next topic, unless you wanted to add more.
No, no. Actually, I was gonna say, I was like, this leads us perfectly into our next topic, man. I'm gonna
Dude,
let
great minds
you
think
take
alike.
it over. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. We've been doing a podcast for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I kind of laid it out at the intro here, but the New York Times reportedly is thinking about suing ChatGPT. They added to their terms of service just a few weeks ago that AIs could not scrub their website for information, which I find that fascinating because I'm sure there already have been others that have done it, but I'm sure there'll be more, to follow this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna hinder its growth. But the real big thing is if it sues ChatGPT, this could go to a place where it's in a federal court. And if New York Times wins, then ChatGPT would be completely scrubbed clean. Like Mr. Clean would come in there and just be like, ding,
Uh-huh.
and it would have to start completely over. But see, the difference this time is so many websites would be blocked from it studying, right? So this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What the- I have a hard time getting on board with the journalism issues. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
No, I get that. I get
Is
that.
it because most of the stuff's behind a paywall? Like,
Um, I would say that, right? Because I mean, think about it, right? We already know that when a lot of these news papers, as well as just these news stations, moved online, they started to really struggle, because a lot of their user base was from the paper, right, getting the paper in the mail or whatever like that.
right.
um, and so when we started moving more towards a digital age, people were less likely, even if the subscription was really cheap, but they were less likely to pay that subscription model, and they were more likely to use other means to be able to Hey,
get the
excuse me.
news that they wanted and all that kind of stuff.
Correct,
Right.
correct, right? So I completely, I can understand where they're coming from, where now you're going to have an AI that's going to do this, right, without ever seeing the article, right, or deliver the information without ever like delivering who created this article, who wrote this article, where did it come from, blah blah blah. Of course, putting in standards for AIs to like cite their sources and all sorts of other stuff is great, but it still is. There's very few people who are going to go back and actually check. Right? Think about it. When people Google search something, it's very rare for them to go back and be like, hmm, all right, I got that one opinion. Let me jump to the next one. Let me jump to the next one and
Right.
like read a couple of different articles. Now they're going to stick with that first one that sounds right to them and they're going to keep going.
Hmm. I agree. Man, that's interesting. Um, so yeah, I don't know. This is interesting to me. I wonder as to what it is that they're concerned about having been scrubbed. Because if it's like historical details, I mean that's going to be everywhere. But if it's like exact things that they wrote, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
That's
the
it's
scope's
not
kind of
plagiarism.
broad.
What's that?
Oh, I was
Oh
going to
yeah,
say the scope's kind of broad.
right. Because again, I've never had ChatGPT give me something that's verbatim something else, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just don't know, man. That'd be really interesting for it to be completely plagiarized. I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago. That's what some of these people think is that their work is just like a lot of authors and artists and stuff. Their work's just straight up getting plagiarized.
Mhm.
And I have yet to see that. I have seen like, it using the information it gains to write its own thing.
Mhm.
But I just haven't seen that. Maybe that's why this lawsuit won't go anywhere. You know what I mean? But also, my biggest question was this. I wanted to ask you this because we talked about this before.
Mhm.
ChatGPT wasn't taught by going to website to website to website to website. It was taught, sorry, in this massive database, right?
Yeah, yeah, essentially, like, yeah, a massive data set that it had, or that they purchased from another company, most likely, of information that that company was able to obtain via the, or sorry, either via scraping or asking permission or whatever, and then subsequently selling that information that they were able to obtain to different organizations like OpenAI, who would use that then to train their AI model off of this, off of that data, right?
Mm,
Um so it is very important, um and it does kind of, it can cause issues later on down the road because we don't know exactly how, like I said before, it's pretty broad. So it can have broader implications than just AI.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. So I was just thinking about that because, that kind of makes information even more of a valuable than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Mm-hmm.
all these AIs, like some AIs are going to be made behind the scenes and they're not going to do the best things, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's one thing that's kind of interesting that I thought of too is that I feel like for the longest time we started to get to the point of where a lot of these, you know, people who are housing so much data, so much user data, especially, um, didn't know what to use it for. And
Mm,
then long comes, here comes along AI, right? You can feed that user data that you're just holding on um, to these organizations that are creating AIs and AI
yeah.
models. Um, and you now have a new use for that data that you've been collecting, that data and that information that you've been using for.
That's a good point.
hmm Yeah, data brokers are it's a very lucrative field because of that, you know.
Right. Which is that's not an easy field either, but
Yeah.
man, that's been going on for a long time and now it has probably more profitable of a use than ever, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a good discussion about this. That was more of a quick mention on my part. No real reason to dive into it deeper because it's not official yet, you know?
Yeah.
So, unless you had something you wanted to add, bro.
No, I I mean, I think the only thing that I wanted to add is that um it's really interesting to see these first few lawsuits or even um political hearings that are going to come up with not just OpenAI, but all these other companies that are trying to jump into the AI game. Um, it's interesting to see where these rulings of these cases can how that can change and shape how our AI is and how it works in the future. Um, in some ways, I maybe this is the tinfoil hat in me, but this is um, one way where one way to slow down or stop the progression of AI,
Yep. It's definitely that.
as at least even if you want to do like a pause, this is one of the best ways to do it, right? If you can get
Hmm.
a judge to side with your lawsuit, then you can set AI creation as well as AI um, progression back by maybe years worth
Yeah.
of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have to find another way to get information, you know.
hmm
That's a good point. Yeah. There you could even be situations where depending on what the court asks for, you know, they could ask for a stay or a hold on ChatGPT's services, right? And so they could be
hmm
blocked out before the trial even starts, or I guess while the trial is going on. Um, it's interesting. So, well, I think we had a good discussion on this, man.
I
Also,
think so.
I just went full screen and I basically just realized it looks like I have an outline of hair around this like giant baby face right here. It's like when you shadow the edges, you know, that's what it looks like.
hmm
So anyway, on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a great time every week doing this just because we're best friends, we're brothers, and we get to catch up.
hmm
You guys make this even better. So thank you so much for being here every week. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Smash the follow subscribe button, and we'll catch up with you next week.